Chapter 10: This Journey's Closure. Clanking noises can be heard from the third floor as two enemies were currently in a life-and-death battle. Izuku was frustrated at this guy's strength. It made sense that Silas was the first commander since he was the strongest. Silas's weapon of choice was a spear, and a rather long one at that. Izuku would dare to say it was more staff than a spear. Thankfully his scythe did have some range, so he was not at a disadvantage when Silas backed off and tried to stab him. One thing that worried Izuku was that he knew Silas was not taking this seriously, which grew his frustration even more. Silas seemed to be the cocky type just based on how overdramatic and easy to read attacks were. He was sick of it nonetheless. But he did not mind keeping up this stalemate as it gave the rest of his crew more time to finish their battles and maybe even help him over here. Izuku did hear tons of banging and explosion-esque sounds coming from below, as well as some tremors. Wait, what if they used up all their strength to defeat the enemy and cannot come up for a while? The thought that Izuku had made him lose focus and took a hit by Silas, who once saw this opening and tried to go in for a follow-up. Thankfully, Izuku recovered and blocked the hit, but due to his rashness, he ended up being pushed back. Izuku felt his cheek and realized he had a cut on it. What? How? Izuku looked up at Silas, who only gave him a malicious smirk. Okay, then time to take this seriously. I can't just wait for my teammates to help me. I need to start attempting to kill him. Even if it means that guy is going to start attacking me for real now. Izuku got ready, making sure his right leg was bent slightly and his left foot was straight out forward. Also keeping his scythe over his shoulder, his stance reminded him a little bit of the likes of a batter, but he put that thought aside for now. And lunged forward, going for an overhead which was blocked by Silas with that spear of his. But Izuku realized that he did it with one hand. Where was his other? Before Izuku could block it, he felt a punch to his liver, and a strong one to boot. But due to his resistance to physical pain, it didn't stun him as much as it would a normal person. Using this factor, Izuku quickly grabbed Silas' hand and raised his scythe high before bringing down the guillotine on it, slicing Silas' hand off in one clean cut. Silas let out a groan before kicking Izuku away. Thanks to a vampire's restoration abilities, all Silas would lose was some stamina, since it was the cost of regeneration. However, this is what Izuku wanted. No matter how long that stalemate they had slated, it would not impact Silas' stamina as much as regenerating a hand would. Izuku planned to cut off bits of skin here and there to tire out the first commander before Izuku himself runs out of stamina. However, due to the limitations of humans placed on them by their creators, how would one keep up with a vampire in combat? Well, the answer was very simple to Izuku. A-rank, healing potion description, restores a slight amount of HP. A-rank, stamina potion description, restores a slight amount of stamina. With these potions he bought a very long time ago, he can finally put them to some good use. He had about 50 of each, so he can use these to avoid getting tired and also recover from minor injuries. With this strategy in mind, Izuku charges Silas once more. Silas was a little more defensive compared to when they were fighting earlier. Their roles have practically been reversed. After successfully cutting off another hand, Izuku backed off since he received a major wound to get a clean cut. Silas then spoke, "So, it seems those portions of yours regenerate both you and your stamina. I can tell you plan to wear me out and then go for the final blow. How cowardly." Silas made a strange face, which Izuku could only assume was one of worry. Okay then, thought Izuku, this might just work. -17 minutes later or so he thought, he only had a handful of potions left. While Silas over there across from him never looked more energized than now. Izuku finally understood that face. It was that of a person trying to hold back their laughter. At first, Izuku thought that the stamina of a vampire was at most quadruple the amount of a normal human, but he miscalculated. Not only was it higher for underlings, directly made by Alice herself, but the commanders were also fighters. So it makes sense that their closest comparison to a human was most likely an Olympian winner. Izuku now assumes that Silas's stamina is at least tenfold that of a normal human. He could never win. Plus, even after all this, Silas still was not trying at all, only taunting Izuku here and there. Oh, he is out of potions. Finally out, huh? I wanted to see the look on your face when you realized your precious potions are longer available to you. And it was very worth it. That look on your face. That look of utter and complete despair. I just want to take a picture of it and frame it up on a wall. For all to see. But Silas appears right in front of Izuku, but before he can react, Silas stabs him in his legs, crippling Izuku. I need to make this quick since I left your friend to go up there. While Dracula is our leader, he isn't the strongest. So. Huh. Well then I hate to inform you, but your leader is most likely dead. On what grounds do you make this claim? Well, out of the four of us, she is the strongest. What? That little girl. No way. Is that how you wanted me to react? Izuku's face stiffened. How dare you underestimate our leader? The best of trash is still just trash. Besides, our leader is. Izuku was exhausted. He could tell that Silas was about to go on a whole speech about how great his leader was. It made him sick, the fact that this guy was the one Alice loved. How could anyone forget a person they cared deeply about? Or maybe it wasn't pure love? Perhaps lust? Thinking that made him angry, but what could he do? Nothing, that's what he could do. Nothing at all. No, I can't just not do anything, thought Izuku. He found a sudden determination within himself, to be pushed down to the ground and laughed at like this. It reminded him of the past, and he swore it would never happen again. Sorry, Bahadur. Looks like I have to be a little more selfish to survive this one, muttered Izuku under his breath. What was that? Did you say something? Well, not that it matters. Wait, you can stand? For the damage I caused you, I commend your willpower. Silas finally took a closer look at Izuku's legs and realized his injury was no longer there. Isn't it funny? What are you, brat? How easy it is for 1,000,000 to go down to merely half its value, but not the other way around. What? What does that mean? Silas questions, before putting his foot forward. Izuku's face turns grim and he says, if you take another step you'll die. Silas once again questions Izuku before Izuku speaks once more. Look carefully around you. Silas looks at his surroundings and sees a string? No, more like a web surrounding him. The entire room. Silas snickers, which then turns into laughter. You think this can kill me? He says as he puts his finger on a web in front of him and he goes straight through it. Not because his hand cut the web, but because his finger was what got cut instead. Silas was confused. After regenerating his finger, he only put his finger close to the string. He soon realized what it was. I can tell by that look on your face that you have figured it out, said Izuku. I used the fire enchantment on the web, and due to the properties of said web, it enchanted the potency of the fire, making it as hot as the surface of the sun. What Izuku just told Silas was partially true. What he used was the skill called imbue. What it does is pretty much in the name. However, this isn't only limited to elements like fire, water, etc. But it can be anything. So, he imbued the web with an oil-like substance. causing the fire to increase in heat, but thanks to enchantment and how it works, it kept those flames tightly packed on the webs, resulting in the heat increasing even further. Izuku finally sees what a true face of fear looks like on Silas. It made him feel good? No, more like great. The thought that he just knocked down the cockiness of Silas only by using such a simple setup made him wish he thought of this sooner, although now he has to apologize to Bahadur for using up the points like that. Izuku has had enough fun and already relished the look on Silas' face. It was time to end this. Using some new webs that were coming out of his fingers, he slowly closed the space that Silas had to move. Wait. No. Stop this. I surrender, pleaded Silas. Surrendering is a coward's escape, a false refuge for the weak-hearted. In a real fight, there is no surrender, only victory or death, spoke Izuku, belittling Silas for his cowardly yet entertaining attempt to live. Please just hear me. It was too late. Izuku had just cut him into pieces. Just to make sure, Izuku squashed his brain and stabbed his heart. After that, he speaks to himself. Okay, he's dead. Can't be too careful. Haha. Oh, man. Why do I feel tired? I am pretty sure I drank a potion for my stamina. Right. I know. Mental exhaustion. I guess no potion can cure that. Man, my eyes are heavy. Well then, Syra, Bahadur, Alice. I wish you all luck in your battles. Seems like I will be out of commission for a while. Izuku sits on the floor and leans on the wall. No more than 10 seconds later, he's asleep. A few hours later, Izuku opens his eyes and looks around. He is on a sofa? He wonders how he got here, but then sees Bahadur by the exit of the room, sleeping on the floor. Looks like he was guarding the exit until he too fell to slumber. Izuku chuckles to himself and mentally thanks Bahadur for not only bringing him to this room but also Syra, who was also asleep on a longer sofa across from him. Something was bothering him though. Where was Alice? She seemed to have disappeared, but that wasn't the only thing bugging him. What the hell is that? He screams as he notices a pretty big black orb in the corner of the room. Syra and Bahadur are woken up by Izuku's sudden shout. What's going on? Says a barely awake Syra. Nothing, just a giant-ass orb in the goddamn corner of the room. Shouldn't we destroy it? Bahadur speaks up. I say we wait, it could potentially be the answer as to where Alice is. That's why I didn't destroy it when I first saw it. Izuku puts his hand on his chin and thinks. Bahadur was right, he has no idea what this orb is, but even if it was something potentially dangerous, all three of them are present and no longer exhausted. So, they could pretty much handle it if need be. As if on cue, the orb starts to shake violently. They all immediately back away from it and get in a battle stance. Cracks start appearing on the orb, and it shatters into pieces. The aftermath left them blinded by the light. They soon can see again to realize there was a person in that orb. A girl specifically. This girl wasn't Alice, however, since this girl looked human. While Alice was a vampire, they do share similarities. The girl looks at them and gives them a stare. Why were you looking at me like that? Did I do something? The girl seems to ponder the question she just asked. Then a look of realization appears on her face, soon followed by a bow. I am sorry, I didn't go down to the other floors and help you guys. I was about to, but something called evolution happened. I am not sure, but I am very sorry. Wait, are you Alice? Questioned Syra. Yes? That's my name? What? Did you forget me already? No way, all three shout in unison. They start asking her questions about why she looks different, but Izuku uses his skill, observe, and realizes that her race went from elder vampire to progenitor. Izuku then checks his quest and realizes that it was completed and claims his rewards. You obtained the title Hero Killer. You obtained a C-rank loot box. You obtained a C-rank loot box. You obtained an S-rank loot box. You obtained an S-rank loot box. You received 100000p. Izuku takes a look at what the S-rank items are and realizes that they are 2 S-rank invitations. He can assume that the system wants him to invite Syra and Alice to his team. He knows that Alice will most likely agree because she has nothing better to do, but he is not sure about Syra. Izuku will miss her since, although he hates to admit it, he sees her as an older sister. And Izuku does not have a good experience with siblings. Especially older siblings. Speaking of siblings, weren't Izuku's 2 brothers and his only sister still alive? He wonders what they're up to, but doesn't care too much. Izuku decides to call Bahadur over and explains to him what he plans to do. Thankfully both Syra and Alice were occupied by Alice's new transformation. Bahadur agrees that they should at least tell them the truth before they leave. Izuku calls them and gets their attention. Syra and Alice both turn toward him with confused faces. He tells them that he is not from this world. And that he is from a different world where things such as enchantments don't exist, and also how he is leaving this world and that they will never see him again. But he also explains the system and a little more about his world. With the explanation of the system also came the explanation of the invitations, and he finally asks them if they want to join him on his adventures. Alice agrees because, as Izuku expected, she had nothing better to do. Plus without her, the underlings will eventually die out and disappear. Surprisingly though, Syra agreed as well. Izuku asks her why, and she then sort of explains by saying that the pure syndicate isn't as pure as he thinks. He thinks it is a pretty vague answer, but Syra will most likely not explain further even if questioned. So he invites them both at the same time. Syra and Alice's reaction to the system window was pretty hilarious. The portal to the exit opens, and they all go in. The end.